Is Lutz, Florida, and yeah, it's Lutz, not Lutz, on the radar for places where you might want to move to? Well, if it is, there are certain things that I must tell you, and there's certain things that you need to know before you can make that decision and really feel at ease about it. So what I'm going to do in this video is break down everything that I think you need to know as someone that's been selling homes here for the last 20 years and had the benefit of talking to people that have moved into the area and that I've helped move away from it. And be sure to stick around to the end because I'm going to give you a little tip that if you do decide to move here, might make the move a little bit easier for you. Now, there are so many things you need to know about Lutz, Florida before you decide whether you want to make a move here, because the last thing that you want to do is spend all this money on your dream home and uproot your family just to find out you've made an expensive mistake. And I'm not saying that moving to Lutz is going to be a mistake. I'm just saying that there are certain things that you need to know that you may not know before you move here necessarily. So I want to give you a complete overview. Break it all down, put it in the package and tie a little bow on it in this video for you, and you'll leave knowing more than when you came in here. And like I said, I've been selling homes here for the last 20 years, so I have some great insight into what people wish they'd known before they made the move to make sure that you guys don't miss that same information. All right, now if you're looking to move to Lutz, Florida, chances are you probably have a general idea as to what it's like already, but let's kind of take a look a little bit high level. So Lutz is about 20-25 miles north of Tampa, and it's situated basically along the 589 Suncoast Parkway, along State Road 54, and then across down through US 41 and a little bit further east of there. And because it's close to all of those roads, it makes it super accessible to Tampa as well. That's why it's one of the more popular Tampa suburbs for people who want to be close to the city but not living in the city. And if you're thinking of moving here, it's important that you kind of understand the culture a little bit. So I would say that it's pretty laid back and it's certainly a little bit more rural than some of the other suburbs. So again, I'm thinking of Wesley Chapel, where the pace of life is a little faster paced, and it's also definitely not as rural as Lutz may appear in some areas also. So it really depends on what you're looking for as to whether this would be a great fit for you or not. So that is to say, it doesn't have that brand new shiny feel, which I don't mind. I preferred something that feels a little more lived in and a little less cookie cutter like Wesley Chapel, but it might not be for everybody, so I do want to bring that to your attention. And as for the population, well, it's certainly not as old as some of the other suburbs like Brooksville and Land O'Lakes, and I'm just reading off here that the median age is just over 40 years old. So that's about 2 years lower than the Florida average, 2 years higher than the national average. So young for Florida, slightly older than the national average. Pretty good balance, I think. However, again, it's not going to be as young of a population as Tampa itself, or Wesley Chapel, or even West Chase for that matter. And because it is a slightly older population for Florida, and as far as the Tampa suburbs go, the nightlife is going to be pretty lackluster if that's your thing. It's kind of thin on the ground. I wouldn't say non-existent, but certainly not a ton to do. There's a couple of bars that stay open a little bit later, but if you're looking for clubs, you're going to be looking in Tampa for that, and even Wesley Chapel has more going on nightlife-wise than Lutz does, but I'm okay with that. That wouldn't be a primary concern for me, and if it is a primary concern for you, there's certainly other areas you might want to look at first before you dive both feet into Lutz. Now, as far as the favorite local activities to do, well, there's a ton of, and I mean a ton of parks in Lutz, and certainly plenty of stuff to do in nature as well. So a lot of stuff's going to center around that. There are also some great golf courses, some cool little local farms. There's some studios around as well. A little bit more culture probably than somewhere like Land O'Lakes, but maybe not as much as Tampa for sure. But I'm thinking of something like Lake Park, where you can go hiking. There's all sorts of trails there and other cool stuff to do. You can ride your bike in there, so that's definitely worth checking out. And like I said, there's a number of those parks locally, so if outdoorsy stuff is in your wheelhouse, you're going to love Lutz. And then, like I said, you have some fantastic golf courses as well. So if golf is your thing, you're certainly going to find a little bit more going on here than some of the other suburbs as well. So make sure it's the type of environment you want your family to thrive in. You can do some great research online for things to do, but those are just some of the more popular ones. Okay guys, so I hope you're finding value in this video already. If you are, please be sure to like the video, comment down below and let me know what you think so far. And be sure to subscribe to the channel, hit the notifications bell. That way, anytime we release any videos about not just Lutz, but Land O'Lakes, Wesley Chapel, West Chase, and some of the popular Tampa suburbs, you're going to be the first to get notified. We do pros and cons, cost of living, as well as new home tours, so you're not going to want to miss those. And if you have any questions about real estate or you need assistance on that end, you can reach out to us in the contact information. Call us, text us, email us, or leave a comment below. I respond to all of those personally myself. let's get back to the video. Okay, now let's look at the population density. And it's worth noting that Lutz is a pretty small suburb compared to a number of the other ones immediately around it. The vibe is definitely kind of suburban, but also low-key and down to earth. So again, a really, really neat mix of stuff in there. Now the population right now is about 26,000, so definitely on the smaller side for a number of the Tampa suburbs that I cover. And while it continues to grow, you would probably imagine that with a population of this size, traffic might be pretty easy going. And yes, it is, and no, it isn't. And what do I mean by that? Well, in general, Lutz is not super heavy traffic, but there are certainly some areas where it is a kind of a nightmare, to be honest with you. Now, because there are a few different ways to get down to Tampa, so down Dale Mabry, down 589 Suncoast Toll Road, you're not relying on just one route to try and get everybody down there. So that does help alleviate the traffic to some degree. But the problem is at certain times of day, so peak traffic times and school times, around Cheval, for example, and Lutz Lake Fern Road, the traffic can be pretty bad. So yes, it's isolated little pockets, but Cheval's probably one of the more popular neighborhoods in all of Lutz. So if you're looking to move there, you're not likely to be able to get away from that issue. And Lutz Lake Fern is really the cut-through road to get to the 589 Suncoast Parkway. So some issues with traffic in particular little spots, but in general, I think you're going to find it pretty easy going, especially compared to Tampa itself or somewhere like Trinity or even Wesley Chapel for that matter. And then as far as public transport goes, you're probably not going to want to be relying on that for a whole bunch. There are some stops along State Road 54 and some outside of Cheval and on Dale Mabry there, but as far as getting around in general, don't rely on it. It's probably not going to be suffice if you're used to a really robust public transport system. Let's talk about the climate, and there's a real double side of the coin on this. So first of all, we are in Florida, so we have the humidity and we have the hurricanes. I have to talk about those. Now in the summer, we're going to see highs of 90, we're going to see lows of 74, but it's worth noting we're also going to be talking about 100% humidity. It is absolutely toasty and pretty unbearable during those summer months. And also because of the humidity that we have, where it builds throughout the course of the day, in the afternoon we get a lot of storms and showers. So we're also looking at about 21 days per month in July and August as far as the number of days of rain for those months. And then like I say in every single video, there's not a single Floridian, I don't think, who around that September, October, November timeframe doesn't get put on heightened alert for hurricane season. And that's especially true with what happened at the end of 2024, where Helene and Milton came through and absolutely devastated the entire Gulf Coast from Sarasota up north through Citrus County. Now in the 20 years I've been here, it's been the worst damage that we've seen, and there were also several areas inland where we weren't necessarily expecting there to be any issues, but because of the excessive rain, the creeks and the rivers burst their banks and flooded a lot of inland areas. So it's not just the coastal areas that you need to be aware of when you're talking about flooding from the hurricanes. And what it's done is shown us that it can happen, because I think we all become a little bit complacent when we go years and years and years without seeing it, and we know it's probably going to happen again. So be aware that if you're in Florida, it's likely to be something you're going to have to deal with, seemingly more increasingly as time goes on. You're not going to get away from it. But on the flip side of that, let's talk about the pleasant side of Florida's weather, and something that the snowbirds cottoned on to a long time ago, and that's the beautiful mild winters. Now, this year in 2025, we had a gorgeous January, February, and March. The weather was absolutely perfect. It's my favorite time of the year. It's like English summer, pretty much. So I want to talk a little bit more about that. So we're talking about highs of 70, lows of 50, and no humidity. So absolutely perfect weather, while the rest of the country is pretty much shoveling snow off their driveway. You might get one or two cold snaps in Lutz, maybe a little bit of frost, but certainly nothing you're going to experience in some of the other areas of the country. So really pick your poison. Do you want to put up with the humidity in the summer, or would you rather deal with the snowstorms in the winter? For me, I'm happy with the Florida weather. I would much prefer it the way it is here. Now, another important consideration when looking to move to Lutz, Florida, is going to be the type of home that you might purchase. And that's where I come in with my expertise, because like I said, I've been working in the area for 20 years, helping over 200 families a year make this their next home. Now, one thing I do love about Lutz is that there are many more options than most of the other suburbs outside of HOAs, that's homeowners associations. So you don't have necessarily those strict deed restrictions or those fees that come along with living in a lot of those neighborhoods. And when you look at one of the more popular suburbs like Wesley Chapel, pretty much everything that's built over there now is in an HOA, and has a CDD fee on top of the HOA fee. So again, just more charges. And because it's a little bit more established, it was built a little bit longer ago, even those communities that do have the HOA and the CDD fee, those fees tend to be lower than a lot of the emerging suburbs like Odessa, Trinity, and Wesley Chapel again. Now I want to talk about Cheval because Cheval is one of the most popular neighborhoods in that area, and it hosts two fantastic golf courses, including the TPC course, and there are two sections to Cheval. Now the homes in there in general are going to start around the mid-4s and go up well over 2 million. So if that's an area that you like, you're sure to find a home that suits your needs and suits your budget. But then there's some other great areas like Villa Rosa and Long Lake Ranch just north of Cheval, if that's not really your speed inside of that high-end gated golf course country club feel. And then there's some new construction over by Persimmon Park, kind of on the Wesley Chapel border. So a lot of options, as well as, like I said, more than enough options outside of HOAs as well, which typically gives you a little bit more land with the property. So again, if you want a free list of homes that might suit your price point and the type of thing you're looking for, hit us up. You can snag that as free of charge. We'll set you up and send that to you. Now, with all of that said, you're looking at an average median price in the MLS this morning of $490,000. So for sure, not the most expensive suburb, not as expensive as say Odessa or West Chase, but more expensive than say Wesley Chapel. So it falls pretty much in the middle, maybe towards the higher end. It is also above the national and the state average as well. And while we're talking about cost of living, it's not just the home, of course, so much as the general cost of living in the area. And Lutz, as far as that goes, is right around that national average. Pay scale says that the average cost of living is 1% below the national average. So really not much of a difference there. Property taxes are pretty middling. They're not as much as somewhere kind of closer to Tampa, like West Chase. Although it's worth noting that the property insurance costs are likely to rise over the next couple of years, but then we also have no state income tax. So swings and roundabouts, weigh it all up and see what you think is best for you. And then it's not just the actual cost of living, but you'll want to know, like, what are you going to get paid for working there as well, probably, unless you're going to be retiring. So what I like to do in this circumstance is go on ZipRecruiter and look at the same jobs across different suburbs to give you guys an idea. Now, the average salary in Lutz is going to be $40,000. If you're a teacher, the average salary is going to be $42,000. And if you're an RN, the average salary is going to be $80,000. Now, it's worth noting that this is lower than quite a few of the other suburbs that we cover and that I've covered in the videos. So if you are going to be working and getting paid the most money that you can is going to be of a great interest to you, then you might want to look at some of the surrounding areas where that pay does tend to be a fraction higher than it is in Lutz. Hi guys, Ross Hardy from the Hardy team and the Living in Spring Hill, Florida channel, covering all of the suburbs north of Tampa. So West Chase, Carrollwood, Lutz, Land O'Lakes, Odessa, Trinity, Spring Hill, Brooksville, and Wesley Chapel, and any others that you can think of. Now, like I said, if you have any questions at all about the real estate here, or if you're looking to make a move, whether 9 days or 99 days away, be sure to reach out to us in the contact information below. You can call us, text us, email us, you can set up a Zoom, or you can leave a comment. I answer all of those personally. Just know that we would be delighted to hear from you. There are no questions that are too small and no stupid questions when you're considering making a move. It's a major, major decision in people's lives. And like I said, we've been doing it for over 20 years, help over 200 families a year, so we're experts on the ground here. Now, we would love to hear from folks like you on the YouTube channel. You're personally my favorite people, so like I said, don't hesitate to reach out and take advantage of our knowledge. And be sure to hit the subscription button and notifications bell. That way you can be kept up to date with all of the new videos so you don't miss anything. For now, back to the content. All right, guys, now of course, one of the biggest considerations, especially if you have kids, is gonna be what are the schools like in Lutz? And you'll be delighted to know that the schools are fantastic. And for sure, the schools are one of the main reasons that people move to Lutz. It's one of the best districts available, and the schools that are zoned for it are amongst the best in the entire Tampa Bay area. So Lutz Prep, Schwarzkopf Elementary, but Steinbrenner High in particular, I have people calling me all the time saying they want to be in that specific school zone. So be sure to use niche, be sure to use great schools to do your own research. Those are both fantastic resources. But if schools are a concern to you, then without a doubt, Lutz is likely to check off all of the boxes for what you're looking for. And of course, if you're looking for private options or if you homeschool, there's some great meetups for that as well. Like I said, use the online resources or reach out to us with any questions that you have. Okay guys, so the final thing I want to mention when talking about Lutz is going to be the food scene, because you guys already know by now, I'm sure I'm a huge foodie, and it actually actually has two of my favorite places. So I want to mention them, and they're kind of low key a little bit and under the radar, so I'm hoping this doesn't blow them up too much. But here we go. First one is the Mustard Seed Deli, which has these amazing stuffed sandwiches on this really crusty bread. They are an absolute delight. Actually, some of the best sandwiches I've had anywhere, and it's so fresh. You can taste every single ingredient, and my mouth is salivating now thinking about it. So definitely be sure to check out Mustard Seed Deli. You could easily drive past and miss it. I was trying to find it and I couldn't find it one time. And because I'm a fan of all things Italian and want to live there one day, the Abruzzi Trattoria is a fantastic Italian restaurant bringing that authentic flavor to Lutz. You'll think you're there. Trust me, it's one of my favorite Italian restaurants, so be sure to check that out as well. All right, guys, so that's going to do it for everything you need to know about Lutz, but I did promise you an insider tip, so this is going to be it. Now, there are some great resale opportunities at the moment in Florida because the market has slowed down considerably and the inventory is up. That means that there's always going to be people who need to get out from under their homes. It's a fantastic opportunity to get into a property and get some instant equity. But another great alternative as well is the new builds. And whereas there are some great established neighborhoods in Lutz, which might be the reason you get drawn there, it's worth keeping new construction on your radar as well, because the builders are buying down the interest rates and giving away insane incentives. I was visiting close by last week, and some of the builders are offering $70,000, $100,000 in their design center of free upgrades. One of them was offering $35,000 or $40,000 towards closing costs. One of them was buying the interest rate down to 3.99%. They're all trying to compete against each other, so make sure you keep it on your radar. It might not be where you end up, but at least you can do an apples to apples comparison. All right, guys, so that's going to do it for everything you need to know about Lutz, Florida before you move here. If you're still interested in Lutz or any of the suburbs north of Tampa, like I said, please reach out to us. We'd love to show you around town and help you make this your next home. You can call us, text us, email us at the contact information below or in the post. And of course, if there's any questions you have that need answering, you can reach out to us with those as well. And if you want that free list of homes in the neighborhoods and price points you're interested in, be sure to reach out to us. We'll get that to you. Until next time, guys, be sure to watch our other videos about Lutz and all of the neighboring suburbs as well, such as pros and cons, cost of living, and new home tours. I'm Ross Hardy from the Hardy team. It's time to love where you live.